go.
So, rituals, observed, traditions in the offing. We are going tonight, with, just in case anybody was wondering, we are doing the world. It is vanilla and honeycomb, gently wafting and burning in the background. I have secured my beverage, and we are as we are. As we prepare to dive in, literally this same second or shortly thereafter, where we left our coterie, where we left the Forgotten, as I've taken to calling them, are there any questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners we need to round off before diving fully into the swirling storm of chaos that you've managed to initiate?
I just want to say that I appreciate this intelligent test that our betters have laid out before us.
I think that if there are any corners we need rounded off, it'd probably be the corners on the end of the tables, kind of baby-proof them, since that some bitch almost killed himself with it.
There is that.
I think the corners are smoking and charred.
It had some character.
Yeah, they're just getting some, heat treating. Like the rest of us.
Only some of us.
No, we used to all be in fire tested. What you say, Noble?
Some, almost. It works out the same. It'll be fine. But since when has the potential for an immolation ever been a real issue for the undead monsters that the kindred are? Fire is fine. You guys aren't like Frankenstein or anything. You don't have to pause and stare into the middle space and yell, fire, bang. So you guys will be fine. It'll be perfect. It'll be okay. It'll be silky smooth. What's a little burnt ends amongst friends?
Indeed. Scars make you look sexy anyways.
That being the case, with no questions or hypotheses or hidden agendas that we need to address, I'd like to extend my thanks for you all being here. The effort and the energy responsible to bring life and breathe truth into these characters is 100% appreciated by me. Thank you all so very much in engaging in this hobby of ours. And that being extended, my appreciation of your talent and your efforts, I'd like to say that this is officially City of Forgotten Care, Volume 1. There was one, and when we last left our coteries, when we last left these heroes of our heart and central protagonists of our view, they had all arrived at the Lamplighter. New Orleans is, well, a city of magic. It's a city that takes death in stride. For many years, it was the epitome of everything that was wrong with the urban environment in America. It was purported to be the murder capital of the U.S. It was also the place where magic was freely accessible. Everyone understands what a little gree is. Everybody understands that there are things that can be worked on you, against you, or for you. Everyone understands that the things that go bump in the night are best left to bump on their own. Everyone understands that you don't go whistling around no graveyard, no after dark at all. Everyone understands that you should never leave a party alone, whether that's in the company of friends, family members, associates, or just persons of the moment. Should always leave with a little something extra. Should always have a little lagniappe with you no matter what. You should dole it out and receive it in the spirit that it was given. A little something extra. And as all of the coterie members arrive at the Lamplighter, that little something extra has been the strange occurrences of their travel here. That little something extra is the violent, both physical, social, and emotional that has been blooming all around them, from incidents and accidents to purposeful actions for and against them. The Lamplighter tonight was supposed to be the meeting place of 5 of the most powerful middle management level kindred, each with domains and places of business that were, up until this point, under some form of social attack or actual outright attack. Things were getting out of hand. There needed to be a sit-down, a small commission brought together to smooth over things and make peace, or at least keep things operational, so that their dirty laundry did not make it to the street, so that there could be some armistice and business as usual, because there's enough to go around, there's enough blood, there's enough money, there's enough manpower to go around if you can find a working compact of sort. You don't have to like anyone. You don't have to agree with anyone. But the working relationship is more important, and basic respect, businessmen to kindred and kindred to businessmen. Well, while it's not the first time that the city is burned, no one wants to be the cause of the next time that the city burns. So the coterie was brought together. They were summoned. They were hired. They were press-ganged into using their skills tonight to keep the looky-loos at bay so that business can be handled. And in the midst of this, other individuals had other plans. Loose lips, being what they are and doing what they do, has created a situation that the coterie must respond to. Abraham is at the furthest point away from the central group of the coterie. He's moving towards the lower reaches of the Lamplighter, where there seems to be a fire afoot. Agent Provocateur is having done what agents do, sowing chaos. Evergreen is closest to the front door, having saved some fool from crashing himself into hell by opening his skull on the bar or the floor beneath it. Nearest him is Bo, who made himself known to the local law enforcement, who thought that they were smarter than, well, slicker than an oil cannon half is filled as an empty one. Miriam, a step further from Bo, closer to Mallory. I'm sorry,
Harper.
I said Miriam. I apologize. Harper was closer to Mallory, who, through her own connections on the way here, has noticed that there was an uptick in police presence. There was something afoot. There's something happening, and it meshes perfectly with her vision as to what will be taking place. And lastly, but not leastly, having entered the building last, it's our lovely Salem, who has done everything they could thus far to put out the many fires along the way. And while there are approaching officers on horses that she is aware of, while there's an encroaching presence cordoning off the building, the question that stands before each and every member in this moment is, what will you do? So diving in, anti-alphabetical, we begin with the scent of ozone, the charged electricity permeating the space as the fire does what fire does. There's no doubt in anyone's mind that the structure of the building will survive. What it holds, however, very well may not.
Alrighty.
Oh, for clarification's purposes, anti-alphabetical for the character's name.
So that'd be Salem, yeah?
Yes.
So the fire is down.
Yes.
Where are the luminaries? Are they also down?
They are. If you follow the building through, the VIP section is technically down from where you are. It is the furthest north portion of the building. The fire being on the lowest level, the lowest elevation, would be at the midpoint of the building between where you are and where they are. The exits, because of the building being so old and how it was designed, are at the front, the south portion of the building, southwest, and from where you're standing, it's on the north side of the building, but it's still south of where the VIP section is. All three doors, all three exits out of the building are nearest where the coterie is at the front portion of the bar.
All right. Well, I'm going to assume that they probably have a back way out, and I'm not running through fire. So I will attempt to move out of the way of the crowd as they begin to panic.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Let's set the difficulty for what's happening. Would you be so nice to go ahead and roll your dexterity and athletics, or because you're able to see it happening and unfurling, your wits and athletics as you find the most out of the general path of rush to position yourself. And while that roll is set for the herd mentality of people and persons in various other states of being decide to flee away from the growing danger of the fire. Smoke is just now beginning to wave, and due to Morgaine's allowing smoking in the building, it hasn't quite triggered for everyone that there is actual immediate danger of life and limb present.
Alright, so
And as
I'm looking for the channel.
Casting lots. And while that roll is in the offing, Mallory, who seems to be mildly catatonic, sees a bit and a glimpse of the future and looks down into the maw, awaiting descending further into the lamplighter, and then looks towards the main door and begins to move with the flow of persons out of the building. Distance is her goal. Fire, bad. Fire, horrible. And she has no intentions of sacrificing her life nor limb for fire. Immediately behind Mallard in terms of action and declaring what it is that they might do would be this degree. What is it that you might be accomplishing?
Alright, so my immediate intention be to get the ABC or C fire extinguisher that we might have behind the bar or wherever we might have it, and get my ass down there. Maybe toss out a few directions to those of us still here.
No, you gotta at beast thirst. There's two thirst that Discord triggers. I'm not sure why, but the thirst doesn't actually work. Physicality, being caught up in the moment, is never something that Salem is ever truly adept at. Sleight of hand, deftness of touch, those are all within her wheelhouse. Physically moving aside and dodging and all of that exertion has never been something that has been high on her list of things to master. This is one of those situations, it's one of those moments where, yes, I probably should have paid more attention during gym class. And as Ian dives for it, moves over the bar to try to find a fire extinguisher, there's just something not right in that. As you go looking for a fire extinguisher, there's a voice at the back of the head that's saying, just run. There is something demanding that survival of self over survival of intentions. It's the sort of thing that beggars the bravest of us. Personal survival. And there's a tremulation of something else there along with it. The whispers of the beast agreeing with that sentiment. Save yourself. Damn the women and children. Let them go first into the fray. Let them fall away, because at the end, strong men are what make the country great and proud, and all of those things that the beast is working at. All of the things the beast is whispering, yelling, demanding, because there's something intrinsically fear-inspiring in getting close enough to view that fire. It's a tremor of excitement. It's a tremor of fear. It is the reality and understanding that fire, that little, small, lesser version of the sun, is one of the true ways to disappear from this place permanently.
In response, he'll just kind of grunt to himself as he's still rifling through the area looking for the fire extinguisher, to grunt to that voice in the back of his head, the ticklings of a blood sweat coming on, because he is fully aware that what he's about to do is pretty fucking stupid, but he made a promise to protect this place. He's security. It's literally his vow. And you just shut the fuck up. I ain't got time for this.
Excellent. Would you still kind of go ahead and roll your resolve plus composure?
Alrighty.
DC 2. The fire is real because it's not there in front of you, but it is real enough to inspire the need for survival. And as that roll is made, Reverend Harper Noel. Now, the problem with fire is that while you don't mind a nicely, lightly seared bit of flank steak taken from someone corpulent and rotund enough that the meat is still juicy, has a bit of flavor to it, a little bit of garlic pesto, and maybe a nice bit of something fresh, maybe a little bit of magnolia leaf, a bright touch of tomato, a little cilantro, but all the same. While your predilection is for lightly seared, charred has never been your thing. It's never been your cup of tea. It's never been where you find that sweet spot. And it's hard not equating the scent of the ozone-laden electrical fire somewhere down there in the middle of the building with a grill. All of these humans, all of these mortals, all of these kindred that could very well be your next snack of choice. What is it that you do, Reverend?
He realizes quite logically that if she stays here, she is not going to have some of these nice charred meals at her mortuary. So she, like the other seemingly level-headed people here, is going to attempt to exit.
Excellent. With the press and throng of those who actually are aware that there's a fire, and those slowly dawning that the roof literally is on fire. We do need water. We don't want this motherfucker to burn. Run, motherfucker, run. So as they're slowly dawning and people are realizing that they're not moving because there's some fight, there's no world star going on, there's no moment of watching someone foolish do something even more foolish to someone else who's being just as equally beside themselves, and that tremor of terror, that tremor of fear wafting through the crowd, and people are beginning to move quicker, which causes what it causes every single solitary time. When humans act like herd animals that the kindred believe them to be, the risk of falling or trampling or being swept under becomes exceedingly more likely. So kind of go ahead and roll. Either you're just dodging, pushing, shoving to keep from being bowled over, or are you trying to plot 2 steps ahead and moving a pace of the crowd to move with the flow of them as they're moving out of the building? One would be your wits plus athletics, the other would be your dexterity plus athletics. So we go ahead and give that a roll. Your DC thanks to the lovely great roll for you guys, Salem's roll means that you need a 2 or better to not be swept under, but instead perhaps swept with. If you roll a 1, you'll be swept with and carried out the door. If you roll 2 or higher, you of course will be smart enough, wily enough, dexterous enough to move and evade the press and rush of bodies. And while that roll was happening, Bo, there's something exhilarating about violence. There's something true and accurate. And it is a very difficult thing.
But I think that's gonna... Oh, here we go again. I feel like this is Miriam's favorite thing.
Yes.
The dice roller has the wrong character.
That has unforeseen repercussions. Let's see what they are in a quick moment. But Bo, physical excitement, physical exertions, it's the truth of things. When it boils down to it, you gotta bring ass to get ass. You gotta put something on the line to win something back. And in this moment of that stampede of people who understand the danger of fire moving forward up and out of the lower reaches of the building, there's that cold, predatory portion of yourself that sees it as a challenge. Having worked security far too often throughout the bulk of New Orleans, having worked previous in your existing lifetimes in security in various clubs, this in this moment looks like the wall of death, where several groups and cadres of fans of music charge each other with everything that they can. This is that moment. This is you staring down the trampling herd, and a portion of yourself that stays plugged into society thinks, this is for Mufasa. The thing is, do you give in to that readily hungry beast at the back of your mind?
As much fun as it could be for Bo to give in and let things happen, it probably would be to everyone's detriment. So, no.
So he shrinks from the challenge. He backs away from the precipice. He does not create a hole and ensure that people move to the left of him and to the right of him. He allows himself to be swept up and carried along with the crowd of fearful humans and other.
No, of course not. Is there a way that I can potentially make a hole without killing a whole gaggle of humans?
No one said you have to kill them, but it's nice to know that that's where you and your beast are of a singular mind and interest. They can't harm you. They can't rise to the challenge of you if they're dead. After all, should be some kindness. Go ahead and roll your resolve plus composure. If you score less than 2 successes, you will in fact inflict grievous harm on those that are surging against you and battering against you like the waves against the rock. Higher than that, you're able to pull your punches. You're able to keep from leaning into that elbow strike. You're able to shove instead of punch through. And while that roll was happening, Abe, being the closest to the risk of danger, being the closest to the risk of trampling, being the closest to seeing the whites of these bovine-like humans as they rush forward, those who've already caught on. There's real danger here. It's not just the idea of it. The hat check girl is blocked by the flow of traffic. The elders, intellect, and other members of society are further in past where this light flickering brightness of that sparking flame is. What is it that you do? Do you ride with the flow? Do you allow yourself to be swept up and out? Or are you attempting something else?
Well, Well, first and foremost, have I had a chance to find myself a fire extinguisher yet?
You know exactly where one is. You've done a preliminary circuit of the building. You know that there's a fire extinguisher in with the coat check girl who is blocked by the flow of people rushing up and out.
Then I will be making my way in that direction.
Are you doing so with the fullness of your strength and energies, or you're trying to, pardon me, excuse me, I just want to, pardon, sorry, let me just, or are you charging headlong like the battle that it is? Are you pushing, shoving, punching, kicking, doing whatever it is that is necessary to achieve your goals? Because while you and Bo shared blood, while the vitae in his veins is the same in yours, you've had the years and experience of dealing with that fire where you can, in some situations, tamp it down just enough to keep it manageable. You can boil the pot without setting the entirety of the kitchen ablaze. Do you exert that effort and that control, or do you just go with it? Do you allow it to burn, to add energy and impetus to your actions? Because that voice, same one that Bo is hearing, is still there at the base of your spine, whispering.
I guess my first question here would be, would rapid reflexes allow me to avoid some of the, for lack of a better term, very, very panicked individuals?
It would allow you to move before they do, yes. It would allow you to contemplate and plot out where they might be in regards to where you are. It would allow you a split second of extra attention and focus.
I'll take a moment to contemplate this. If I could breathe, I'd be taking a deep breath, and I just plot a course and make my way there. Doing my best to just avoid people where I can, and if I can't, well, not much I can really do about that. And if it might help as well, I might just, I don't think I need to rouse for Daunt, do I?
To utilize it, Daunt is a first level, so no, I don't believe you do. Let me double check. I did not open that note, but never too far away presence.
Yeah,
it's the opposite of all, so you don't rouse for that.
Yeah, okay. My hope is that maybe if I activate that, it might cause people to, in addition to me being able to avoid them trying to avoid me.
Alright, so that being the case, being as you're attempting to maintain control enough to be the monster without actually having to physically engage in being the monster, we need two things from you. First and foremost, your control. Because no matter how big your sword is, if you slice through everything and everyone while showing off, no one wants to ever see you use your sword work, your skill. So be so kind as to go ahead and roll your resolve plus composure. DC is 2. And then roll your, if you are successful, then roll your intimidation and charisma. You receive the bonus of your presence to your die pool.
Just make sure what my hunger is. Still 1, nice. Success. And you said intimidation plus presence plus charisma?
Correct.
Okay, 3 plus 3. I assume the coercion specialty does not apply here.
No, you're not being subtle nor sly. You are being the monster without unfurling your fang. You are driving home the point that you are not something to be trifled with and not a person. You are a thing. You are the living embodiment of do not fuck around.
Alright, so what was the difficulty again? My apologies.
As high as you possibly can, because you set the difficulty for them to veer left and right or to, in fear response, dive through.
7 successes, critical.
Okay. So, as is the case in such chaotic maelstroms of activity and attenuation, everything happens at once. Everything moves a pace of itself, spiraling higher, brighter, and bigger. With a snarl of fucking A right, Bo leaps to the matter. Bo, what's your how many pips in strength do you have?
Are we talking about
Not potence, but we know that you're
Not
doing
potent.
aggravated damage because of your penchant for violence, but just your raw strength.
4?
Ooh, dog it. I done seen about everything when I saw several people get punched through and sent flying across the room to make a hole. In losing a full firm grip on the beast at the center of his being, Bo makes a hole the good old-fashioned way. He's punching and kicking and holding his ground as if he is in fact the final arbiter of fate. He is the thin security line that nothing will pass, that nothing will break. He is the unyielding, unmoving stanchion upon which the firmament of heaven is built. And the crowd that crashes against him literally crashes, many leaving with, or crawling away, or trying to crawl away with broken limbs and missing bits of flesh. Hopefully it's just a flesh wound. Hopefully it's just a scrape. They pray as they cry. And somehow in that theater of violence that he becomes in that moment, in creating a hole for himself, as he declares that none shall break him, nothing shall get past him. Salem and Mallory are swept up and out in the crowd, escaping the front door of the building in time to see the police closing, and now several of them getting on their mobiles, reaching into their pockets, some of them actually using the walkie-talkies on their shoulders to begin calling for help. While that is happening and the crowds are flowing out of the lamplighter like a swimmer carrying their body weight once, twice, 3 times over, Miriam is, I said it again, Harper is taken under. Harper is the cautionary tale for what happens when several pairs of couples and groups trample in their fear. She trips 1 or 2 or 3, and the pile gets bigger. The pile of people who will be walked upon, trampled upon, ground into mush under the weight. Luckily for Harper, she's already dead. Unluckily for the person nearest her who once brightly lit, enjoying eyes were dancing. They are not dead, though they were not dead before they began to be trampled. And Harper watches as the light begins to fade, because it doesn't take that much pressure to break bones. It takes less pressure under the rush and maelstrom of people fleeing both the fire and that demon that is Bo in the center holding the line, creating a part in the sea of flesh flowing up and out of the lamplight. While over the bar, struggling past the bartender who is nearly catatonic with what the fuck, and starts waving and pushing and shoving people verbally. Evergreen finds the fire extinguisher. He pulls it up.
Am I able to see Abe going for the same?
You're able to see Abe, because you know his bald pate from behind, as he goes up and over the crowd into the coat check room. The crowd somehow spreading around him as if he is the very magnetic true north and repelling all other magnets from his being. The fear that he inspires is magnified by them crashing against the rock that is Bo, adding to those trampling over, through, and beyond Harper, and flowing out and helping Mallory and Salem get swept out into the street.
Gotcha. I'll just if the bartender is at the very least able to take orders, I'll grab him by the collar, shake him real quick with the fire extinguisher in my other hand, just go, turn off the power, hit the find the breakers, hit the breakers, go, and let him go as I dash for the stairs.
That is a great plan. has a great intention. Save what you can. Rescue what you must. There is a moment that needs to be mechanically focused on and dealt with. In the trampling press of the throng, and Salem being taken under and drowned in the press of flesh and the stomp of boot, would one of you be so kind as to roll a singular d10? That's the number of superficial damage that Harper will have to deal with.
I think it's... oh, sorry, please continue.
As the crowd rushes, pours, falls, tramples where they once were.
It looks to be a 5.
Harper, there's a lot of songs that you've heard over the years. A lot of amp up songs. Both for New Orleans bounce hip hop as well as hip hop, as well as metal. There's a wide variety of music because New Orleans is, of course, a home of music. So you've had various anthems, various songs designed to get the blood flowing, to get people excited. But they typically, in situations like this, those that are played in clubs and those sort of nightclubs where you appeal to the youth, there's always a song about stompa. And you understand what that feels like. You understand what that actually means to have someone, incidentally in your case, treat you as a carpet. You understand what that flag means. Don't tread on me. Because it is, for all of the ignominy of losing your footing, far worse insult as a stiletto punctures your thigh, as a boot from someone who spent far too much on the knockoff Timberlands stomps across your face, as in the uncaring rush and press you are treated as something that will eventually be wiped off the bottom of their shoe sometime later if they survive this moment. Oh my god, I've got blood on, how did that get there? Oh my, and as that thought is bouncing around the inside of your head, as your head itself is bouncing off of the floor, what is it that you are doing? And most importantly, that 5 superficial, you know, of course, you have and round up. Where does that leave you in regards to health?
3.
And what is Harper's stamina?
2.
You felt worse. You are sure you have felt worse. You are sure that you have experienced more pain. Though as you think about it, no, you haven't. The pain that you experienced was emotional. The pain that you've experienced that was worse than this were left scars invisibly on the inside of your being. This is literally enough pain to put you into shock if you were living and breathing. This is enough pain where bones are not just broken, but they're sundered completely from themselves. This is enough pain that, well, if you were living, you might not be after this. And with your experience in the funerary arts, you know what a pain it is trying to knit broken and burst open flesh. You know what a problem it is in preparing the bodies for viewing when there are portions that have been severed, broken, smashed, when things have been ground into near pulpy dust inside of a person. Do you know how much effort it takes, how much putty and plaster it takes to rebuild the seeming of a person afterwards? You know how damaging this is to you and that lovely light brown eye staring at you with no lights on behind it. What is it that you would like to do as the crowd surges through, passing over you.
So after a few moments, I just like, ow. Eventually get up and limp her way to not near the fire.
Excellent. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your strength? And athletics. Unless, of course, you're going to come up swinging. If you're going to fight your way free, then, of course, it is strength plus brawl. If you're going to utilize perhaps the corpse nearest you as a shield, then it is strength plus melee. Or if you are going to tap into the darker portions of yourself and use any of those infernal abilities you have, that is its own kit and caboodle.
This is going to be an interesting roll.
There's a quote that the hero dies but one death, and the coward 100 deaths. The coward dies every day, a hero dies but once. And all of those other epitaphs about fighting back, about not giving in to, well, fear. And as you make it to your knees, as you pull yourself up out of the muck, as you take your bootstraps and do the impossible, the crowd still surging around you, you make it to your knees and are shoved back down in the pressing throng. Once more, the floor rising up to meet you, to greet you with open arms, as if to say, no, 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 not now, not now. And speaking of not now, the beast is a hungry, angry thing. It demands respect and gives none. It demands survival at any and all costs, even as it destroys ethics, morals, and better angels that exist even inside the kindred. The beast wants what it wants, the end of all life. It wants to drown itself in the blood of the world and absorb the souls into itself. There's an old quote about, you have two wolves inside and the one you feed. Well, that's all nice and good, but even starving and ravenous, the beast inside you, Bo, is of sufficient strength that it can unman your ethics and your morals. You are gifted with an unending rage and a fury that you're not sure that any amount of water could put out. It is the equal to the danger of the fire there in the middle portion of the building. Bodies thrown from you. Bodies punctured and broken as they crash against you. Is there any effort, any intention, or any action that you would like to accomplish in the moment? Because your beast is rejoicing. It's smiling and cackling as it watches the broken bodies go. As it goes, and it whispers, there's no sense of wasting that blood. We could take a drink. No one would ever know. No one would ever care. They just remember the pain.
As much as I would love to give into that, and feeding probably wouldn't be beneficial, now would be a good time for Daunt to try to mitigate so many people coming at me.
Excellent.
As I slowly drown in rage.
Oh, yes indeed. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll as high as you can using your... You have a choice. You can be honestly and openly yourself, which is an angry, near archangel-like source of pain. Or you can use the fact of all the pain that you're causing as leverage to the reason to stay as far away from arm's distance as can be from you. So that would be a choice. Are you using the element, which is manipulation, or are you simply unfurling who and what you are? An agent of distraction, an archangel of death come to visit these people, putting them literally between Sela and the abyss and Charybdis, between the whirlpool and the rocks, and you being one or the other, or in this case both, a whirling dervish of death as well as something waiting hungrily at the edge of their vision.
I'll go with B.
Alright, well, that's being the case. Go ahead, use your manipulation, your intimidation, and add your presence to the roll with a +1. Nothing says that you are a dangerous person like the broken bodies doing their best to not be trampled and stomped out in the press of people fleeing.
Okay, so we're going to do manipulation, intimidation, presence, and 1.
Correct.
All right, that's possible.
And while that roll is happening, Evergreen, how charismatic are you?
About the average, I would say, about as much as the average man.
Okay, so you have the added impetus of the fire and the press of bodies and people moving, you holding the fire extinguisher. So go ahead and roll your charisma plus persuasion or performance to get the bartender to go along with what you're suggesting.
Can I make a case for leadership?
Yes. You're assuming command. This dog needs to be motivated.
And would, given the definition being finding the right place for the right person, would team dynamics be applicable here, given that those of us capable of actually getting down there and not having to be killed for what we see needing to go and fight the fire, whereas this semi-nobody would be great for just going and shutting off the power?
Team dynamics, no, would not apply because there's only the two of you right
What a
now.
shame.
You need a little bit more than just the two of you to be a team. You could be a duo. You can be dancing partners. You're not quite a team yet.
Alright.
And while that roll is happening, the beast grows hungrier. The blood stolen early this evening, adding nothing to now, and the beast demands his pound of flesh. Comes rearing up out of the dark, telling you it'd be better if you just take his blood and use it to your own ends. It'd be better if you empty this waste of flesh, because can't they see the danger? Why aren't they even running? Why don't they have the self-preservational instincts of a guppy? They don't deserve to continue living. They don't deserve their blood. You, however, do. You do have a self-preservational instinct. You do have a reason to resurrect yourself tomorrow evening, if for nothing more than to explain how this cluster of fox became so wide and far-reaching. After all, Prince Guibo would love to understand the happenings of how this conflagration ended up being what it is. And while that is happening, we're going to move to Abraham, who has cut a swath with the weight of his persona and gathered inside the coat check, the known fire extinguisher there, and the young lady who her and her mother, her and her grandma have been to his sermons and his services before. They've been built by him and paid for all of the faith and passion he was able to give them and get the illusions he was able to serve them. But they still are just, well, they're only human after all. The crowd, having responded to the sheer weight of his presence, having responded to the sheer weight of his charisma, bent around him and split down the middle like the Red Sea for Moses. allowing him all the time in the world to get where he needed to get. Of course, those discerning, those watching, those waiting to see this happening, and he sees them. A face that looks familiar, a face that he's seen earlier that evening. Instead of moving with the crowd, moving counter to it, further into the building.
Would this face be one of the youngins that I let back inside?
Yes.
Are they heading towards the fire?
Oh yes, they're moving past the fire, further into the building. And you realize why the boots were chosen. Firm contacts, stable footing, able to descend with all due skill as they move further past the fire, as they move a counter to the crowd. And while you see the male, the young lady he was canoodling with doesn't seem to be near at hand. Maybe that's where he's going. Maybe he's going to rescue his girlfriend, pull her out of the building. Maybe.
And I have yet to retrieve the fire extinguisher.
You have the fire extinguisher in hand.
Oh, I have it. Wonderful.
You pulled the pin. There is nothing but air and opportunity, as they say.
I'm gonna follow that motherfucker.
Stealthily, or just come back here, you little...
Nope, just walking with purpose, the same way as I did with the coat rack.
Excellent. And while
not shouting, not verbally saying a word, just putting on my best bitch face and walking forth.
And while that is happening, outside in the street, Salem, while the building itself, while the lamplighter is not the balls to the wall, breaking all fire codes filled that it normally is, there's still a significant number of people that were inside. And while for literally once, the place is not breaking every fire code several times over, and there's still far too many people to be fleeing for you to truly make out what it is that you see as you glance towards the building and look toward the horse riding police officers of the quarter closing. You know what they're doing. They're calling in backup. They were already calling in other backup, but now they're calling in fire and EMT, and they're trying to corral the people making their way out, because it has gotten to the point where it is such an emergency. People are not even on their cell phones. Normally, you've witnessed it over the last few years. When emergency moments happen, people break out their cell phones. People, break out their watches and point toward the danger instead of using those cell phones to call for aid and assistance and police and fire and so forth and so on. People try to document what's happening. The pressures of the crowd and herd mentality happening in the lamplighter has them to the point where even their cell phones aren't out. People are actually afraid. People are actually driven by the real danger to the point where they're not surveilling themselves or the moment. What is it that you are attempting to do, if anything? Watching as Miriam swims down instead of trying to float up to escape their pain. As Evergreen leaped over the bar and returns with a fire extinguisher and begins moving further into the building. As Bo becomes that which needs a lighthouse to avert the ship of mortality from first breaking and sundering, and then just preternaturally creating a part in the crowd. Abraham's much further in, and you're able to not see what it is that he might be doing, but you knew he had already begun moving further into the building towards the fire. So God forbid something untoward happened to him, proof that the kindred exists. But all of those things percolating and dancing in the ether, what is it that Salem actually is doing?
So I'm still in the building. I thought you said I'd been swept out.
No, you're swept out. You're looking into the building from the front. Remember that you're outside with the crowd that escaped, and the police are cordoning in off the area, calling in backup, swarming toward the building, because as first responders, their job is to run towards the danger.
All right, well, I am going to get out of the flow of trampling people. I cannot help Harper because I am not strong or physical enough to do that, so they are on their own there. And there's too many panicked people for me to try to reason with them and tell them to stop stepping on people. I am going to just move across the street to a safer location and not concern myself with whatever sort of Tarantino from Dusk Till Dawn vampire thing is going on inside.
Excellent. So you're into blending with the ebb and flow of the onlookers, those who are safely far enough away to be able to take in what's happening, which gives you, for lack of a better word, the overwatch. You're able to take in the entirety of the moment. You be some kind of go ahead and roll your wits plus politics or wits plus streetwise.
We'll go with politics. I am good at that.
Good is good. Well, damn. All right. It's only in the calm of the chaos, at the edge of the eye of the storm, as it were, that the reality of where you are and what could be happening settles over you like a wet blanket. It dampens the mood. It dours the expression. It makes this such a fucking headache. New Orleans isn't like anywhere else. There's not a single top dog. There's several layers of top dogs, all from the lowliest of the low, who only has that block up there in Metairie or that block over there in Carrollton, all the way up to the prince of the quarter, the prince of the parish. And what this is clearly someone spoke out of turn, either accidentally or purposeful. Because there's no way that there's that many police officers in uniform and plain clothes able to pull the humans out of the actual real danger of the fire. They're making a huge dent in the people pouring out of the lamplighter. They're able to cordon off individuals efficiently, not because they're louder or have booming voices or have tools of their office. No, it's enough of them that two at once were able to escort someone who's falling and pull them out of the way. There's three over there who are helping cordon off there. The officers on the horses and the backup on the way. There's no way to not see this as what it is. It is an attempt to remove 5 potential power players from the map all in one fell swoop. Because what's the Kindred to do? Even if they swallow the rage-filled fear of the fire, those further in the building have to fight past the fire to get towards any actual exit. The building was built and retrofitted and built upon before the standard fire safe protocols were in place. The structure itself won't fall in on itself. It's been fire tested and proven several times before. The VIP is safe because, well, you can literally, for the most part, wait out most things. But if all the humans have been escorted out of the building, if all of the mortals are no longer in actual danger, and the Kindred, those ranking members of middle management, are all that remain inside. It's a good plan. It's a good joke. Just wish that someone hadn't made it.
Well, this is a giant masquerade clusterfuck, so she will kind of run through her head who would have cause to specifically scapegoat her and these other people.
There are some things you should never peer into the dark for. There are some things that you should never really pay too much attention to because it's hard. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And as Salem begins plucking at that mental thread and unraveling it, truths that were there and obvious began to make themselves known. There's one person held in little regard, ever present during Morgana's meeting. Her assistant, Jessica, the well-coiffed, nearly Ventrue-like member of Morgana's court. Morgana never wanted to be the acting prince of the quarter. Morgana merely wanted to be a hostess. However, Jessica, for those of you young enough to understand what it's like to be under the boot of your elders, what better way to make a fool of Morgana, to gain status, to break free of the shackles of servitude? And you could say that it wasn't your doing, because you weren't the one that made the meeting at the Lamplighter. You have witnesses that you weren't even there when it happened. And while that thought's percolating, we move along from Salem as they put 1 and 1 together to get 11. As they all but solve the mystery of what's happening from a distance, as the police are nearly ready to go in and begin physically pulling individuals out. As the sirens from the fire trucks sound in the distance, and you know that they'll be there in moments. Moving from Salem to Evergreen, who's next on the list alphabetically. Successful though you are, it takes a certain amount of bravery to charge headlong into fire. And as the bartender begins moving, trying to find the breakers to turn things off, it's impossible to not realize that there's a pool or puddle of people being trampled and pulled free, some of them crawling further into the light to be helped to their feet, others not so much. Harper is such a notable person. Their plain, well-coiffed hair, their smartly dressed suit, their pale skin struggling to break the surface of the crowd as they pour free of both Bo and Abe, rushing away from the fire, and the fire of anger and rage wafting off of those two pillars of destruction. Harper isn't quite as hale and hearty. Do you allow Harper to continue being pummeled to the point of clear mortal damage, with the police slowly working their way into the crowd and pulling people free to be found? Or do you go address the fire?
I very specifically have something preventing me from letting her just sit down on the ground and keep putting it. So, yeah, I'm going to drag her out. I ain't going to drag her out the building, but I'm dragging her out the horde of shit, and I ain't going to be polite about it to her or them.
Excellent. Would you be so kind as to go because you are doing it one-handed, or are you going to toss the fire extinguisher down to do so? Are you going to focus solely on Harper and pull them free, or are you going to do it one-handed, kicking and screaming as you do so?
Let's, since I know where the fire extinguisher is, I can set it there and not, like, lose it, right?
Yeah.
I'll set it there, near where I gotta go, so I've got the full range of capability to get this lady. Because, unfortunately, you're in a bad way, and I leave you there, you're gonna be worse.
Oh, yeah. Because time is a thief of always. And in an emergency, the first responders, their goal is to save as many lives as they are able. And to do so, they remove them as far from the danger as they are able to possibly do so. That means literally snatching people and all but hurling them out of the building. They're at the edge of that break point where the mob of people exiting the building forms a half circle in front of it, and the police are wading in, pulling people, tossing them back to their partners or other officers behind them, creating a cordon of those who are there working towards to save and those they are able to save and move out of sight. So you are a few moments ahead of the police and a few more ahead of the potential fire department, which is clearly on the way. You can hear them yelling toward back and forth towards each other. There are, strangely enough, more undercover police officers than there are actual uniformed officers. And would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your strength plus brawl? And as you make that roll, know that you may be assisted if Harper has the wherewithal to do so. Is Harper going to continue, or is she going to give herself over to the malaise and the depression that comes from watching life be stepped on like a used cigarette, like the butt of someone's last drag? Because that's what she's able to see. She's not the only person that fell. She's not the only entity that is under the bottom of this gaping maw of destruction that is people fleeing in fear from fire and a preternatural aura of rage. Does she give up?
Oh, absolutely not, because that's potential food. What does it matter if they're dying or dead? That's how she eats them.
Excellent. So that being the case, as Harper is fighting, not giving up the ghost, not giving in to the depression that unfortunately naturally comes from looking up at the world from the viewpoint of a worm, from being knocked down. She definitely has the idea of fail, try again, fail better. She refuses to just lay down and take it. She refuses to go quietly into that good night of being ground to a pulp. Meaning, Evergreen, you get a +1 die to your efforts, and you must roll a total of 3 or better.
Feel better. Now, is there a case for grappling specialty here?
No, unless of course you're going to use a person as a battering ram.
I can?
What you can do is whatever you can. You're bound solely by your imagination in this particular moment. What use is it in not using the full monstrousness of you? After all, they are only human. They are food. They are filler. You are doing this not for them, but for the Ancilla and elders that are at the back of this building. And, well, like all great things, the greatest evil is once you stop seeing humans as humans and see them as things. So why not use them as things?
Yeah, this is gonna be one of those cases, riding the high off of his hunger slowly building in his stomach. That subtle inclination, these aren't people, these are food. The words are dunking, throbbing in the back of his head. He's gonna take the nearest person and just start wading through, using them as the same way somebody might use a broom or a stick to fend off a wild animal. Just clearing the way. Now let's hope this goes well for your sake there, Harper. I fucked up real bad because I didn't even put the at. Look at that. Oh baby, yeah! That is a 6 messy crit.
There is an impossibility for anyone with eyes or ears to not know that they are in the presence of evil. It is impossible for anyone with eyes and ears to disbelieve that there are things in the world that are far older and far more monstrous than the entirety of the full human civilization. One of those things being Evergreen, as he snarls and bares fang, his eyes going dead. He uses the first person he is able to latch clawed finger upon. And, well, there's nothing nice about what he does. He uses them as a broom handle against the horde of humans fleeing for their lives. Their arms akimbo, their head being used as a cudgel against other such individuals. There's something unsettling about someone's skull connecting with some other person's skull. The clink and clonk of that causes something squicky to happen at the back of the mind. It does not stop him, however, as he wades towards Harper. And like the most savage of animals, instead of helping her gently to her feet and dusting her off, he's flailing a human to act as whip, to create a hole around them where he can yank her to her feet. And worse than watching a person's light go out, it's watching as the fear reaches such a high level that there's nowhere else for it to go in the crowd around them. The fear is so potent and palpable, you can taste it in the air. Speaking of fear tasting in the air, as we pull a little further back from that gruesome graphic display of savagery, moving right up the list and further into the crowd, Bo. Success means everything. There are the victors and there's everyone else. And in this moment, the beast is the victor. It has managed to get you to do what it wants you to do, save you haven't actually given in. You've allowed it to vent itself. You've allowed it to create a hole around you as you stalk further into the building towards the fire. The question is, are you following the bald-headed pate of Abraham further into the building, or are you planning something else?
Well, the idea currently is to get down to the elders that's in the more VIP section, right?
So you're gonna move past the fire? Yes. Be thrilling, be daring, risk it all.
That's the idea.
Okay. That being the case, would you be so kind as to roll your 1/3 of your humanity plus your unspent willpower? Your DC is 3, because as you move through the crowd like the specter of death that you are, the scent of ozone grows to the point where it begins to burn the nostrils in your nose, the hair that's inside the nostrils of your nose. It begins to stick to your scent, the scent of burning rubber. It begins to stick to your skin, the fear wafting off of those around you as if it's being soaked into you like you are a sponge. You get through the crowd behind where Abraham further is. He's above you, following this particular individual as they make their way down the stairs on the south side of the building, i.e. to your left. The fire is to your right, and the crowd is attempting to skirt past it, the last few straggling members before you get to the VIP section further past it. The fire is huge. It's so hot that it actually is not burning red. It is a sparking electric white, as something in the wall is setting something else on fire, it's connecting with something else, the core around it rippling and melting into it.
Question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that's not wood that I can perhaps smother this fire with?
There's right now about 50 things you can smother that fire with. The humans that are near you. You can beat the fire into submission with them.
But I'd have to kill 50 humans.
Well, you know what they say. Yeah, those are amateur numbers. You gotta get those higher. You can do better than that. You could cut a bloody swath through them all and put the fire out with their blood. You could very well cause the building, well, a portion of this building to crash on them, smother the fire and the humans, and their blood would help put the fire out, as well as their flesh would, help melt into and keep it from spreading. You could. There's nothing they can't be solved by throwing more bodies at it.
If you said it was 49 humans, I probably would do that. If you said it was only 49 humans, I probably would do that. But 50, just one too many.
Well, you can always, throw one free.
There's always that extra thing. Is there a way that I can maybe collapse that room where the fire is?
Yes! Give it a shot. How high is your potency?
Would it kill everyone?
There's always a risk of death.
Yeah, well, there's a risk. All right. What do I need to roll?
There is, first and foremost, 1/3 your humanity and your unspent willpower. There's a real existential crisis there in the fire itself. There's a portion of yourself, the beast, and your conscious self-preservational mind that lets you know that this is the worst place to be. Would you like to spend? Oh, you can't. 1/3 your humanity and your unspent willpower is 5.
Yeah, humanity is 6. 1/3 of that is 2, and willpower is currently at 4.
That's your total unspent.
So that's a total of unspent.
Oh, so that should be.
So actually, that's 6. It should be 6 instead of 5.
Yes. Would you like to re-roll the totality of it, or just roll one die?
Whatever storyteller's choice is.
Go ahead, just IV6. Exclamation V6 at the beast.
Exclamation V6 at the beast. That's. I think I made it, so that sucks.
There's one thing braver than a person who can't be harmed, and there's a fool that doesn't believe that harm hurts. Bo is braver than them all still, because in his conscious mind, not that little small lizard brain or the beast, the back of it, but in his fully conscious mind, everything dies. The idea of immortality is laughable, and it's better to die by your own decisions than by someone else's. So as he looks at that hot, bright whiteness of the electrical fire and the wall around it being pulled into it, the decor of this portion of the building being used as fuel, sparked by whatever it was that caused this electric fire, he is willing to risk it all. Engaging where the fire is originating and what it's eating up and what it's using, he decides that the best way to put it out, or potentially the best way to put it out, is to bring the upper floor down on it. Would you be so kind as to go ahead, roll your strength plus brawl and add your opponents. Higher, the better. And while that's
alright,
happening,
can I burn some blood for this?
yes, you can exert whatever you believe is your maximum effort to do this, to destroy this landmark in whatever way necessary to avert the danger of the fire. And after all, no one's gonna ever remember the tall, bald man with the security shirt ripping a hole in the ceiling to put the fire out. Nah, never happened. And while that's happening, Abraham, there's something about fool's bravery. There's something about the inherent danger of moving into someone else's trap. There is all of those natural pragmatic ideals at play at the back of his mind. He knows a huckster when he sees one. He knows a grifter when he sees one. Yet these stupid, young, idiotic fools were able to temporarily pull one over on him. It's incensing. It is aggravating. And so he follows the boy, the young-looking male, clearly of legal majority, but it's hard to not see them as a boy. The stuttering, the stammering, the illusion of being uncomfortable. How fucking dare they? And as you follow him past the fire down to your right and farther away from you, and that it doesn't immediately trigger the fear that exists at the heart of every kindred. You follow him further into the building. You know where he's headed. And as he takes the stairs down a level, you follow behind, the crowd fleeing from the danger and pointing and gawking and rushing forward. Nothing but a distraction you are able to ignore. You have your quarry, you have your target. And as he moves further into the building and takes the stairs down, is there anything you would like to do or take in?
So, you said I know where he's going. Where is that? Or where would be my best guess, I guess?
The VIP section stretches from this third floor where you are as you are moving further into the building to the second floor beneath it, but it's still above the dance floor at the absolute bottom of the building. The further north into the building you move. That means with him heading down from the third floor, he's moving to that central portion of the VIP, which is the second step down into the subterranean level, above the dance floor still, but where it is most secure. It's the place, it's the VIP section in the building that you could literally hold off the hordes of hell if you wanted. It's solid stone on the outside, the door locked from the inside, and they're secure enough or thick enough that the vibrations from the base don't actually affect what's in the room. It's the place where, if you were able to breach it from the inside out, would potentially cause the third floor VIP to fall in on itself. It's the place where, if you were going to hide from the fire and wait it out, that would be where you go. Especially if you didn't have to breathe. The smoke would never do anything to you.
Alright, then my solution right now is to, if I can catch up to him. Can I catch up to him?
Do you have any celerity?
I have celerity 1.
Yes. You'd be able to catch up to him as he's nearly within reach of that portion of the VIP section.
Alright. Would I be able to grab him by the back of his neck and rouse for prowess?
Yes. Yes, you would be able to.
And rouse is just a straight 1 die, if memory serves right?
Correct. You tempt the beast, and it goes along with your plan. You can hear it grousing in the back of your mind. But it doesn't demand a tax. It doesn't demand a payment. It doesn't demand any vig in the moment. But like all things, like all bills, it will eventually come due. And you're not sure which part of you is more focused on that. The part of you that's excited with what it might do, or the part of you that fears what it definitely will do.
It's like to put my hand firmly on the back of his neck, just grasping his neck from behind, just snap. Or just crush.
Okay then. Would you be so kind to go ahead with your strength plus brawl?
Strength plus brawl, that should be...
If you score DC 4 or better is an instantaneous destruction.
Okay, so just roll as high as I can.
Yes.
And would I be allowed to roll for? Fucking I know. Plus, I'll just roll like this. Right. Gotta do that. So it's one at least. 3 successes.
Would you like to improve them?
Sure, why not? 5 successes.
The fire raging, the panic setting in, fear obfuscating every other scent in the building. In the blink of an eye, a life is over. Everything that has led up to this moment for that individual doesn't exist any longer. And somewhere in the infinity of all the worlds of your imagination, your beast laughs. It's not too late. Drink him.
Just toss him to the side. I'm not hungry.
There is a cost for doing business. There is a understanding that there is a value inherent in what people will pay no matter which business you are in. Salem understands that give and take. Peter must be paid, Paul must be paid, the Caesar must be paid. There's a cost to doing business. And watching as everything unfolds and unfurls, it is impossible to not understand how much must have been paid to get this action underway. This is a huge investment of resources. This is a huge investment of potential social standing. This is the final push of the Roman legion as they took over Caledonia. This is a risking of it all. Understanding what she believes she understands, what might Salem be up to, if anything?
She is mostly continuing to put together the political ramifications and the betrayal and who else might be at fault, and trying to ignore the giant masquerade breach that is occurring inside the building. Because there's nothing she can do about that at all. There are too many people to deal with, so she just kind of hopes that they all continue to go ape shit and kill absolute everyone, because that'll solve it.
That would. If everything and everyone inside was completely dead, that would make things a lot easier to deal with. The ramifications of killing everything and everyone, well, massacres happen for a reason.
I mean, there was a fire, people panicked. But they remember a guy with fangs out beating people with other people.
I know what you're talking about.
There is always the opportunity for improvement upon the gruesome graphic nature of being kindred. There's always a way to make it worse for the living, and by extension, worse for kindred. At least normally. Only as the red haze that possessed him as his beast leaked forward into the present, operating him and piloting him like a Gundam, does Evergreen realize how bad things could actually be. The pummeled, bruised, contused, and lumped up from nearly stem to stern human woman in his hand, as well as Reverend Noel underneath his wing, safe from the press and push of the catastrophic number of people seeking to escape the fire raging below. and the police closing in on the front door from behind him. He realizes where you all are. There is but one recourse, one opportunity ahead. Put out the fire or escape. Because there's no way that this does not go down as the weirdest moment for most of these living people. Those that survive, those that will be trying to figure out or suss out how the things get as bad as that. Did you see that guy? Oh my God, he was snarling like something off of a movie, like a huge, I don't know, Munch, like the boogeyman himself. He was swinging that girl like she was the bat. Oh my fucking God. And you know that it will only grow in the telling. You know that. Things will reach a fevered pitch. Luckily, no one has their phones out. No one is breaking out their personal surveillance devices yet. The fire is still raging. Reverend Noel looks as if she's been put in a bag and beaten for several rounds. Like she was the piñata and she just wouldn't give up the candy, so the kids kept going at it. Decisions, and seconds to make them.
Yeah, we're going straight for the fire. Like, if I gotta drag her with me to make sure she doesn't get caught by the cops or stepped on some more, I'm dragging her with me. But we're going straight to put out that fire. I had an objective. I still have an objective.
What about the human girl in your arms to use as your own piñata bat against the crowd?
She's a collateral damage.
You take her with you? You gonna use her to beat the fire out?
I take her with me, but not for the fire. Somebody hungry.
Your beast is salivating. Fed though you had been, there could always be more. Once you pop, you can't stop, and you've all but popped her. She's bruised, contused, broken bones. She is nothing but a crunchy Capri Sun at this point. You can get a little marrow in with your blood if you like.
If there's a opportunity while I'm not going to just eat her in the middle of the crowd, you know. But if moment we're out of sight of the fleeing people, yeah, I'm digging in, man. Ain't. I gotta have all my resources to me whenever I get down there. Unfortunately, this just ain't her night. Ain't none of her nights, really, but I suppose at the very least she's ending it with a bit of euphoria, so she's luckier than the rest of those.
That's what you tell yourself. After all, if you're gonna go with a smile, after all. And as you escort your victim, your hostage, your meal on the hoof, you keep Reverend Noel close at hand. You keep your wing about her as you make your way further into the building, or do you make her carry her own weight, carry her own water? Do you make her grab the extinguisher from near at hand?
Everybody's got to pull their own weight, and unfortunately my weight's about 140 pounds and way too young to die. Hers gets to be the fire extinguisher.
Alright, that being the case, Reverend Noel, there is a understanding of Christianity that it's hard for most to swallow, but somehow it's giving you solace. There's always that preacher or deacon that always mentions God helps those that help themselves. And because you didn't give in to the natural dread and despair, you didn't give over to the fear that naturally comes over from being swathed and covered in the boots of others, there is the monstrousness that is evergreen, using that barely into their first or second year of college, woman as a baseball bat to create a hole around you to help you stand. You refuse to give in to despair. You have worked on helping yourself. So God reached out of that invisible crypt in which they live up there in the sky to help you. It's funny. They always say God moves in mysterious ways. But watching Everett work, there is no mystery that it moves in the most violent of ways. Being pulled off the floor and into his wing. What is it that most has Reverend Noel prepared to do?
Just going to look up at him from her probably awkward position under his arm, almost being drug around like a football, I'd imagine, with her legs dangling back behind him. This is very undignified, but thank you.
Yeah, you can thank me by picking up that over there and getting to work. Next time you run, I ain't gonna pull you out. And with that, I'm just gonna keep on my way, dragging that girl along. We got business to do.
And there it is. The moment of decision. The fork in the road. Sat upon her own feet, pointing in the direction of the fire extinguisher so that you can lug it along towards the cause of this stampede. Does Reverend Noel acquiesce? Does Reverend Noel head toward the center of all of this chaos?
She is not one to not repay a favor, so she will do what she can with the fire extinguisher. Try to stay far enough back from it that it's not to make her do crazy things.
As you all move towards the fire, that old aphorism about money talking and bullshit running a marathon, about lie traveling around the world faster than the truth can put on his shoes in the morning, all of those ideas bombard Reverend Noel. Because in the truth of the violence that has taken place here, there is fear etched into, carved into, broken into the faces of those few stragglers trying to force their way past you all, taking the long way around instead of coming near you and Evergreen with his drug along hostage, bruised, contused, and already swelling. Her head looks, well, the best way to describe her head, if you take a ball of clay about the size of a watermelon, let it kind of begin hardening in the middle and drop it repeatedly until it's no longer completely spherical. There's knots and divots and swelling portions of it as it flattens against other substances and sharpens in return on the opposite side. The girl's head looks like a masterpiece of the most avant-garde variety. You're not sure what it is, but it is curious and it draws the eye. Lips 2.5 times their normal size. Ears immediately, instantaneously cauliflowered in their swelling, contused and bruises along their extremities. She is a walking billboard for what not to do or have done to you willingly. And as you all get to the fire, close enough to see it, close enough to be in the same space as its heat, The ceiling begins cracking. The timbers that hold the upper floors scream in protest. And as you see the fire and you see Bo managing to wrest free portions of the lumber above your head, what is it that you all are doing?
Why would you do that?
Him bringing that down, that won't block my path to safe house, would it? The panic room?
Oh yeah.
It'll block it? Okay, cool. Fuck it. I guess I'm this ain't gonna be polite for both of us. I'm gonna have to tackle this some bitch to stop him, because if he gets even a second more to do it, it's gonna be too late.
Keep in mind that at 5 successes in strength, he is effectively taking a shotgun blast out of the structure and foundation of the building with every grip, every exertion of his effort. At close range, a shotgun could cut a man in half. At close range, there is very little that would stand up to a full, solid slug blast of a shotgun. And that's what he is. He's a solid wall of destruction. Bo, as you're bringing down and cracking one portion of the lumber above head to bring the upward floor down on this fire, Evergreen and Reverend Noel are there, as well as a snack, a puffy, beaten, misused bag of semi-solid blood kept under Evergreen's arm. What is it that you are doing?
Well, I've only got 2 hunger, so I'm not starving, so that's not really distracting me.
Yes,
I don't know
your
what
beast doesn't
the
like
Reverend
this.
doesn't like this.
It does not like this. It is triggering that need to comfort, eat, to stave down the waste that you've already done. You've allowed blood to go without being drunk. At 2 hunger, your beast is literally just whispering in your ear, man, come on, man, you gotta give me $1 here, you gotta give me $1. And I know you may not have 20, but how about $2? How about $5? How about $10? You know what, just go ahead and give me that 20 that you owe me, and I'll pay you back next time I owe you. It hasn't stopped, and his voice isn't yelling or screaming, and it's not clawing, he's not taking physical action to you, but it very much is a presence and demanding some attention. You have the source of your destruction there in front of you, and you're daring it to hold it together long enough. And the easiest way for it to hold itself together is, well, you know, a little blood, a little life. You do us just right. Popeye has his spinach. You have blood.
Well, since it is such a daunting task, and he is bringing, uber blood, I stare directly at that lump of flesh, letting it take all my attention so that everyone around me can see that I'm looking directly at that lumpy flesh.
Noticing his clear attention change, I'll just kind of toss her at him, be like, boy, get your hands off that fucking pillar before you stop us from doing what we need to do.
Pin that lumpy flesh against the wall. Is it still conscious?
Only in the very thinnest idea of what consciousness means. The head has been beaten and swollen. The limbs are swelling beneath the contusions and abrasions that they've suffered. It was clear that in another life, in another moment, that this woman might have been a dancer or someone physically fit, because they were able to withstand whatever it is that Evergreen did to them. And while their gaze is glazed over, the lights are still on. They may not be able to see past the smudged and muddy windows, but there's some light inside them. and the lips are too swollen, the jaw is too broken for them to get words out, but it is clear that it is moving either from the stress and pain or them attempting to try to say something.
How many humans are still around us?
Good question. Do you pause in your action having pinned her to the wall?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you pin her to the wall. The fire is still raging. Reverend Noel, Evergreen, is there anything that you all are doing in this moment?
He's distracted. Fire's still in my way. I don't suppose there's any better way to get through it than to just fight my way through it. It's obviously like.
You can backtrack, go up to the floor above you, go past it on the far left side of the building, down those stairs. But that means backtracking back behind you, up, over, around, and down.
The quickest way, then, making my way downtown, I suppose.
Walking fast? Yeah, sure thing.
I guess I'll take that fire extinguisher and get to work, I suppose, cutting my way through.
And Reverend Noel?
I guess she will just stare at her empty hands now, and I guess with the poor girl, I suppose some kind, comforting words in the face of her death.
So as Bo pauses, the brush of his fangs breaking free of his gum line, him pinning the already bruised, contused, and victimized woman against the wall as he watches as the fear-soaked humans flow past you all. You ease close enough to begin giving a benediction towards death, a prayer for the dying. You get close enough to grieve and mourn her with a solemn word. The fire still raging. Evergreen taking the fire extinguisher from you brusquely and beginning to target the lower portion of the fire, aiming at the base to try to put it out. There's something about knowing that you are going to die that brings a bravery to many, even those who don't believe that it's possible, even those who have lived their lives one fear-soaked moment to the next. It's over. There's a realization that no, you don't want it to happen, but no, you can't stop it. So there is a last-ditch effort. And many begin breaking down in tears and crying, letting the emotions take them. Others steel themselves for it. They put on that stiff upper lip, and even glazed over and only mildly conscious of what's happening. The woman looks at you. You guys are approximately the same height. Those glazed over eyes, that contused face. She very much looks very close to what you imagine the Elephant Man looked like. Not the actual living person, but no, from the movie with Anthony Hopkins, how they had the makeup, and you remember it vaguely, but that was years ago, and so it's always held a place at the back of your mind. And this is what you see when you look on her. Someone who, even in their darkest portion, is able to summon a semblance of dignity in the most undignified of moments. And Bo, in trying to appease your beast, you pause and force yourself to be still, to watch those circulating past you, trying to flee, and the rush of gas and powder and chemical substances released from the fire extinguisher, slightly dampening the mood, but not enough to keep the beast from pushing you forward to say, now, come on, we're so fucking close. And as the people move past you, people who've already experienced your supernatural strength, people who have already managed to be victimized by the aura of hate, anger, and rage wafting off of you. People who have already witnessed things that, well, were best not witnessed, best not experienced. While experience is, of course, the best teacher, panic and fear are not. You get good at what you do. And nearly die from stress is never a good thing to be good at, to be experienced at, to take as normalcy.
So if I do this, then that means they will see her, or they will see and remember something rather monstrous.
You can't determine what the future might hold, but yes, there's no way that what you all have done, has not been witnessed. You literally tore one of the lumbers from above your head out of the ceiling as if it was tearing a piece of paper in half. Not even anything as impressive as ripping a phone book in half, which, it's all skill and talent, not necessarily strength, but it looks like a feat of strength. You, with no actual exertion, tore down one of the supporting pillars. You, with no actual exertion, cut a swath through a crowd of oncoming humans. You, with no exertions, have done some incredible things this evening. What people remember is anyone's guess.
In this room, in this moment, what's the probability of someone stopping what they're doing in all this chaos to look and remember what I'm about to do?
Impossible to gauge. Humans are fickle creatures. Humans are impossible. When they should fight, they flee. When they should flee, they fight. When they should give over to their natural impulses, they rise above. When they should rise above, they give over to their natural impulses. The width and breadth of humanity is an indiscernible potential, maybe, possibly. Likelihood, hard to gauge. You've never been in a fire like this before. There's nothing to compare the statistical probabilities of what tomorrow night, or the week thereafter might bring in this particular situation. You know that in a firefight, strange things stick in the memory. Like, that guy was wearing that blue bandana, which was weird. Everybody else was wearing red. Or that guy had that strange patch on his uniform. Or that guy wasn't a guy, that guy was a girl. Or, man, they fell funny. I shot him in the right hip and he twisted, but he fell on the right hip. In a firefight with adrenaline flowing, it is impossible to know what may stick in a person's mind.
Oh, I tried. A look here in the eye. Oh, what's left of her eyes, mind you, because pretty much battered and probably half closed. But since he's an alley cat, he kinda gotta do it. Looks her in the eye and tells her, almost a whisper, I like you, I want you. We can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way. So then he goes in to feed.
So as we prepare ourselves to move towards where Abe and his victim are standing, the left side of the trap being prepared, as it were, as we pull back from where Bo, Reverend Noel, and Evergreen are fighting the fire and their own demons in their own special, inimitable way. The exchange between Reverend Noel as she speaks to the goodness and the cleanness of accepting what is coming. She says her benediction. And Evergreen grits his teeth and fights his beast as he sprays, even from that distance of 15 feet, that fire extinguisher. The fear of it catching, the fear of the fire touching him is still there, and he's fighting against his own demons. He's attempting to fight the fire. Bo and Evergreen's former victim get to know each other in a way that, well, won't be the last thing that they experience. You've eaten overripe fruit before in your living days. It's always super sweet. It's always pulpy and soft and easy to the tooth. There's no real bite to it. It just gives all of its sweetness to you. That's what Bo feels from this particular victim, having been softened physically by Evergreen's efforts, by being softened emotionally and spiritually by Reverend Noel, offering them the opportunity to die peacefully, to accept what is coming, and know that, well, all of the pain in this world will be repaired with joy and happiness in the next. And almost true to her word, as Bo's fangs slip past the flesh and begin taking all of that sweet fruit that is the blood inside this particular victim, laden with fear and endorphins and filled with pain, all the same. We look to the left side of the building as Reverend Abe's victim ceases to be like that. Gone. Non-existent. Standing just outside the fortified portion of the office. There's a cracking and a creaking and a moaning somewhere behind you to the right of the building. Somewhere over there you heard a crack and a snap, and maybe it's a fire working on the lumber, but none of that's important right now, because as the body falls beneath your grip, as the body stops being a human and becomes nothing more than moldering meat, something tumbles free of the jacket. What he was here at this door for, what he was here to attempt to do. It's a lockpick gun. And not one of the easy, cheaply purchased versions from Amazon or such. No, it's the heavy duty, all-in-one, able to break nearly any lock that police officers use. That not just police officers, but federal agents, the SWAT teams actually use. It's the heavy duty model that you can use to pistol whip someone after breaking down their door by just simply breaking their lock open. It's the sort of piece that makes you a little envious. That's easily $2,000, $2,500, maybe $5,000 worth of merchandise, and this little nothing pissant had it on him.
Kind of kneel down and grab it, pocket it.
It is a good item.
Yeah, you said it was a lockpick. What now?
It's a lockpick gun.
Lockpick gun.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of those. That sounds interesting. And this office is likely where the meeting was taking place, I assume.
Most assuredly. It is effectively what the walls of Jericho were supposed to be, what the walls of Troy were promised to be. It is impregnable. It is a point of last refuge. If you could make it inside of that office, You could outwait the next hurricane. You could outwait the next tropical storm, even with the way that the lamplighter is built, with the bottom floors being flooded. You would be safe and sound inside of that space. You could withstand all but a direct missile strike. Say there's one weakness. The door. Or more effectively, the lock on the door.
Two questions. To my knowledge, is this the only entrance to this door?
There's one on the other side. There's one facing, there's one facing the east side of the building and one facing the west side of the building.
You're right. And
you're on the west side of the building.
I would not be able to make it to the air side quickly from the outside, would I?
Well, depends on what you mean by quickly. How quick are you trying to get there? What do you suspect is happening on that east side?
Well, my suspicion is that if the man was over here, the woman that was with him earlier would likely be on the other side.
Yes.
So I would say, and I don't have, like, besides I guess now the new fancy lockpick gun, a way into that door, into this office. Even with security clearance, they didn't give me anything like that, did they?
No, you guys are supposed to keep everybody away. You're not supposed to go in.
Okay, figured. All right. Then I'm going to very quickly, a lot more briskly than I came down here, try to get to the other side.
Going through the door or around the door? Are you going to barge through what's supposed to be a safe, secure location, or are you going to try to navigate around the space?
I think very quickly, I'll just give like a hard knock onto the door and just say, "Be careful from the other side. I'm gonna head over there now and see what's up." And then very quickly rush through but not through the door, but you know what I mean.
Okay, so you're gonna go around. You're gonna give your ancilla, your socially higher rung, hierarchical persons that amount of respect to not barge through their meeting, to allow them their safety and security, even if it may be exploited from the other side. Good idea.
While also giving them a quick warning.
Yes.
Yes. That is my decision, yes.
Okay. That being the case, what you'd be so kind is go ahead and roll your dexterity plus celerity. As you move around the office, having given that warning, having risen to your hired position, holding the ethics of your position above all else.
I will rouse the blood for to raise my dexterity a bit. Boost. Alright, that makes this not completely horrible. And DC for the dexterity plus celerity check.
Oh, it is definitely contested, so roll as high as you possibly can.
Right. Okay. 1 boost. 5 successes.
Yeah.
Oh, fate is on your side, Reverend Abe. You get to the door as the lockpick gun is slipped into the key. And just before she pulls the trigger, you are there standing over her shoulder like the specter of all the deaths that has preceded this moment this evening. It is clear that there's nothing but nefariousness afoot. The youthful ploy clearly no longer a factor. The gun in the lock, the trigger being prepared to be pulled. You have one action. What is it?
With a twitch of the eye and tossing aside the fire extinguisher, I'm going to grab her neck with both hands and just... Well, there's only a couple of things you could do when doing this.
Hey, now, this is a family show. You gotta keep it clean.
I know. I'm just going to attempt to, well, snap her neck, or if not that, choke her to death.
Alright, contested roll. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your strength plus brawl? And she will, of course, do what only those who have been in combat situations before do. She will attempt to escape, to flee, to make sure that she is alive to fight the good fight another day.
Alright, I will rouse the blood for strength just to make sure that she does not have a chance. I want you all to know I've rigged this bot, by the way.
I think you all have.
Alright, that will raise it up to... Uncontested. Right. Four successes. And I will willpower that.
Yeah.
I am now at 3 out of 6 willpower.
Hoorah, very nice, very nicely done. Fate has nothing but your best interests in mind. It has been an angel over your shoulder despite your lack of faith in a higher power. It has been guiding your steps and leading you towards your version of salvation, a successfully completed job. You have been a person of good standing, a being who has kept your word, and you have been rewarded by fate guiding you to this moment. With all due simplicity and direction and the real earnestness of your training thus far, you closed on her, arms extended, hands gripping. It should be over all too quickly. You're met with the stinging of the lockpick gun's needles, the edges of its prongs that can literally break almost any lock, any commercially available lock that has not been designed to be impregnable. The lockpick gun makes little time of. It bypasses all of the inherent security properties. Those tines, those tools embed themselves in your palm of your left hand. Your right hand is nudging just enough, of course, that you're left holding what should be the bleeding wreck of your hand and not her neck. It is clear that she is skilled. It is clear that she's been in similar situations before. And it is clear that, like a fox caught in a trap, she very much would chew off her own arm or leg to escape. Instead of taking a movie or cinematic pose to continue fighting, she's already sprinting away from you.
I am going to...
That is too superficial that you've taken. You have to course round, well, half and round as per your skills and discipline allow.
So 1 superficial. Right. I will chase.
Excellent. Dexterity and athletics versus dexterity and athletics. She unfortunately is not as fast as she should be, but you know, shit happens.
Right. Two plus... And do I add celerity to this, or
No.
okay, I figured. And I assume I do not add the endurance specialty from athletics here.
No, it's a race. It's not a marathon.
Yeah,
She is literally fleeing towards the fire.
I'm going to willpower this.
Yeah.
Doesn't make much of a difference. 3 successes.
It does. And how many dots in celerity do you actually have?
1.
It does. It makes a huge difference. It puts her, with all of her experience, with all of her skills, it turns her literally into the rabbit before the greyhound. The eventuality of the end of the race is that, well, the rabbit will be consumed. The only thing that changes is whether the rabbit will be consumed hale and hearty and rested because they've made it to the end, to the hutch ahead of the greyhound, or will they die tired? In her case, she'll die tired because she is far faster than you expect. She's far lighter than you expect. The footwear chosen for this was a good choice. And it's clear that it's latched and laced and properly fit, because in the blink of an eye she's covered more ground than any of those who sought escape from the fire had. She's already bounded up the steps towards where the fire actually is. Well, down the steps, sorry, to where the fire actually is. She's making her way, walking fast, keeping her own pace, making a mockery of things. She's making a bad situation all the worse, because she makes it to where the fire is, to reclaim the hidden weapons there. Bo, Evergreen, Reverend Noel, a young looking woman dressed to the nines, comes barreling into the space where the fire is and where you all are. Over her shoulder is Reverend Abe. What is it that you all are doing? It's clear that he is chasing her and choosing this moment to hunt for his victuals.
Attack? Abe going after, that means she needs to be going after for some reason.
Tripper.
Is she running past us or just straight to us?
Running into the space where you guys are fighting the fire, and Bo is feeding, and Noel is whispering lullabies into the dying girl in his grip.
Yeah. The initial instinct is violence. If she's running in my direction, then fuck it. We're gonna use that same gusto that had me tackling, or at least attempting to tackle, the walking tank that is Bo, and we're gonna redirect that intent for violence towards her.
Harper will, I guess, slip into the room that they ran out of.
Then you're going to move past them back towards the VIP section, where the meeting is being safely ensconced inside the most secure room in the building. The place that would survive a fire. The place where they inside are perfectly safe from what may be happening. That being the case, Abe, Bo, and Evergreen, would you all be so kind as to roll your strength plus brawl?
Wow.
This is payback for all your fucking rouse checks, boy.
Oh, fuck you, willpower.
Thirst said, no, fuck you.
It's because I sold it out. I told her when I rigged it.
Oh shit!
Oh, before I go ahead and roll, is my potent still active?
No.
Okay, good.
Thank you. One of us. Somebody did something.
You all did well. You all stood against a world-class martial artist who had a hard-on and a grudge against the supernatural of the world. You all managed to take the dodging kicks and elbow strikes like champs. Bo, however, decided to return all of the pain she was seeking to deliver and dole out in the exchange with a gusto. Like for like, measure for measure, they tumult as elbows are exchanged and traded. Unfortunately for her, you all are dead. Unfortunately for her, your pressure points still exist, but not to the point that it would be completely disabling. And so while as the first attacker who closes on her and she whirls around, slips free, and deposits a close-quartered elbow strike to Abraham's throat to try to completely take his head off its shoulders, to stop the air from flowing into his lungs. The difference is 4 minus 2, leaving you 2 superficial as her elbow drives your Adam's apple further into your esophagus. She whirls, twirls, bringing her leg up to stop Evergreen from being able to tackle her. The leg that's brought up is designed to drive him into the floor with the arcing strike of her kick. The difference being 1, you take 1 superficial. And as she sets in motion to be the badass that she believes herself to be, the ass-kicking, name-taking engine of destruction, Bo, in his inimitable way, takes the blow and returns it, rupturing flesh, depositing a spray of blood across her and himself. It takes her a second to realize that the blood that splatters and blocks some of her vision is her own, as he's managed to burst open her skin through her ensemble, the clothes literally seeming to blow off of her in that particular moment of striking. There's shock that spreads across her face, because that 6 superficial is literally being shot with an explosive shell. It is literally sitting on top of a quarter stick of dynamite. That's what's exchanged. That's the moment when things change. There was a before and after moment. And the after moment, the won't last that long, because there is no way that she will not bleed out. There's no way that the shock will not cause her suffering. Speaking of suffering, as Miriam, and I said it again, Miriam's on my mind. I don't know why Miss Ashton is there in my head. I apologize for that, but
it's all good. She made an impression this week.
A harbor slips free of the room where the fire has been mostly put out, where death is only a lesser symptom of everything happening. The doors of the secure room burst open. Jessica, Morgane's right-hand woman, her assistant, comes stumbling out, stake in her hand, the dry remnants of vitae sticking to it and clinging to it. A wet, moist look only made worse by all of the vitae tinging it. Oh my god, it was a trap. It was a setup. We gotta get out of here.
Harper, you still there?
Miriam, are you still there?
Yeah, sorry. my brain went off into La La Land for a minute.
Everyone went quiet. I thought my Wi-Fi cut out.
Same.
No, been a long day. What am I doing?
That is the question. What is in fact are you doing? Morgana's right-hand woman comes staggering. Her right-hand kindred comes staggering out of the most secure place in the entirety of the building. A stake in her hand, covered in vitae. Her glasses sitting askew on her face. A river of vitae-tinged tears clinging to her skin. A look of shock and amazement sitting there, as if someone who has witnessed hell reach up through the ground and pull down the one thing that they love most in the world.
Harper will shrug. Ambush for everyone, including those of us invited here. Regardless, there's a fire.
We gotta go. We gotta go before they gather their strength again. The two from Carrollton, they're working together. We gotta get out of here. Let's. The panic in
Lead the
her
way.
voice is real. And then you hear snarling, angry kindred sounds coming from the secure room. The sort of sounds that denote something feeding and slurping at something else. She staggers past you and attempts to run, but it's clear that she's been damaged. The stain along her back left leg is indicative of something arterial happening. Luckily, she's already dead, otherwise she would most assuredly be so. While across the street from the whole of it, there's a moment in every chess game. There's a moment in most video games where you know that the damage is too much to survive, where there is nothing to do except for lay down your king, unless of course you're prepared to see it through, to watch the immolation of all of your plans go up in smoke. You're in check, or check is being threatened, or the boss of the board has those two moves you know about, and you survive those two moves, but then there's a third unveiled that you had not prepared for nor practiced against, and you know that it's only a matter of time. It'd be better to turn the console off, to shut down the CPU, to back out of it, go clear your head, and then try again at another time, or to not try again ever again. That's what Salem witnesses. The cordon is complete. The civilians that were fleeing are fled. The fire truck has eased to a stop just at the corner between the Lamplighter and the Lafitte Hotel. The first responders are suiting up. Even those undercover are undoing their jackets, their stab shields and vests clearly present, their badges on their hips and around their necks visible. Guns are out, for those who are nervous and need that security blanket of the potential for violence. And the fire team are suiting up more completely. Their tanks, their multi-tools, as they begin heading into the building. As some move to the southwest side of the building, others move to the northeast side of the building, and others through the main door, closing off paths of escape. There's a point where things have gone too far, where facts have been ignored, where time has been allowed to do what time does: steal opportunities, moments. The question is, as Salem watches this happen, as Salem sees paths closing, what is it that they do or engage?
I guess, because I've really got nothing, being the, knowledgeable, educated political witch in this situation. She will kind of try to get a better vantage point, maybe be close enough to intervene if somebody comes out that maybe she can help, even, But other than that, yeah, I got nothing.
It's a carnival. It's a circus. It is a maelstrom of activity. It's a hornet's nest set aflame. So moving with the chaos, getting closer is not a difficult proposition for someone of Salem's skill set, for someone of Salem's ability to bluff and put on a good show. This is the easiest portion of her evening. The hardest portion is watching it all unfold, watching all of the pieces of chaos form Voltron was a difficult thing. But, like any good relationship, being a witness to things happening is what you sign on for. And in her relationship as a neighbor to the lamplighter, as a servant to Morgaine, and as a believer in the cause that if the kindred work together against their worst urges, there is a possibility for something besides complete damnation to take hold. There's a possibility for something besides chaos to rule the day. There's a possibility that their better demons might stave off their worst angels and keep them from draining the entirety of the world.
I think we're about 20 multiverses past that reality.
Very close indeed. Easing closer. Mixing in with the group of humans, mixing in with the chaos that is swirling as action is put into action, as natural instincts of the fire crew take over. They bar the path of most of the police who are trying to go in with them. It's an idiot's decision. Smart, wary police officers don't let the fire teams do what fire teams do because they'll make it safe for us to enter. But these police officers, these undercover agents, seem to have it in their mind that they need to be inside that building. What they fail to realize is that New Orleans is New Orleans. New Orleans is not your average city. There's a way that things are done, and then there's a way that things are done. And none of what these officers are intended to do is the way that things are done. The fire chief gets up in arms. There's a disturbance in the alliance of fire and police. The EMTs on scene to pull the burning, damaged officer from the northeast side of the building. It is a maelstrom of chaos, outside as well as inside. And speaking of inside, watching Bo take off the woman's life, help her get more comfortable with the idea of death. An interesting thing, because it's not something that one, you see every day, or two, you wish to see every day. There is a balance to things, and watching someone's faith in themselves obliterated. Killing people is easy. Destroying them taking the entirety of their confidence from them, it's another matter entirely. There's something about it that seems dirty. Like, this is an intimate moment between your mom and your dad. It's something unseemly about it. And just as that thought is crawling around the back of your head, as Bo makes little time with the woman, divest her of all versions of self, Harper and Morgane's right-hand woman are staggering through the space. There's a stake in Morgane's right-hand woman, Jessica's hand, and she's attempting to use Harper as one would use a crutch to get further, faster from whatever it was that caused the blood and vitae that's clinging to her clothing and running down the back of her left leg.
Yeah, what the fuck happened back there?
It is a trap. We got to get out of here now.
Alright. Let's find an exit, I suppose.
With my preliminary things of the building, would I know where the quickest, shortest exit would be? Short of punching through the wall.
Up to the second floor, out the southwestern door. It's still, you're down the main street, but if you go out that southwestern door, you could be able to make your way through some of the back spaces, some of the cul-de-sacs that connect where the roads used to be and where the houses and buildings overlap them. At least that way you'd have a better opportunity of escaping easy surveillance. Trained, dedicated surveillance people determined to hound your steps, that's another matter entirely. But easy is the unused door on the southwest portion of the building. Easy is going away from Lafitte's across the street.
Alright, and since I am rather skilled in it, may I attempt to intuit whether or not there's a is this bitch lying? Is this bitch V-trap?
Oh no, she's been fighting, that much is clear. She's survived whatever it was that attempted to kill her, that much is clear. Okay. As far as what you feel, whether she's being honest or truthful, if you want to take the time and interrogate her, you definitely can.
Alright, everyone, follow me or scatter, your choice, as I begin making my way towards one of the more discreet exits.
I'm going with Abe, just to be like, Harper, what did you see back there?
Not a whole lot.
We'll get the details out later then.
And the moment that Harper says not a whole lot, you hear the snarling, angry retort of kindred on the hunt. Those who have given up the semblance of being patiently, seemingly human. You hear above the dying, crackling embers of the fire, monsters on your heel.
Shit. We're getting moving, I suppose.
There's gonna be a jog.
Bo, are you gonna stay and fight the angry sounds of kindred behind? Or are you gonna head with these guys? Someone's gotta be.
No, is there a place that I can probably see these said kindred?
Yeah, you can move
I'm curious about these kindred.
Yeah, you can move into the space where their sounds are coming from and attempt to head them off at the pass. After all, someone needs to hold the door. That could be you.
You get to be Hodor.
I think I'll do that. I should do that.
Alright.
I'm gonna burn some of that nice warm vitae that I just borrowed from that nice lady and put that into potence. I might need that.
Statistically, with the sounds of multiple, and literally only takes two to be multiple. angry kindred who have given up the seeming of humanity. Staying to hold the door means that someone should at least take your dog tags with them. Now, statistically, is that what Bo would...
Statistically.
There's a chance that fate may not conspire against it. But thus far, fate gives with one hand and takes back with both. Your choice. Your call. Morgaine, right-hand woman, is bloodied and beaten, using Reverend Knoll as a crutch to escape. And you're going to stand single-handedly in the face of this.
That horde, I'm really interested in. I'm really interested in it. But
there are some things that where decisions are made, decisions are acted on. This is one such moment. There is a before and after this moment, but neither of them really matter because, well, statistically, you will be the brave lad keeping the Alamo lights on. You got this.
I'm gonna have to.
All right, sounds like a plan. So on that note, as Bo rushes past the escaping members of the coterie towards the sound of hungry, angry, animalistic kindred, we pull back on the chaos and maelstrom that this is. We escape this moment knowing that statistically Bo is sacrificing himself to allow his coterie to escape, while Salem on the outside works at being able to maximize the opportunity of keeping the chaos active enough so that if there are any survivors from inside the lamplighter, they may be able to slip away with her aid. While in the middle point between the sacrifice of Bo towards the angry other Ancilla who almost took Morgaine's right-hand woman out, we have Reverend Abe, Reverend Knoll, and Evergreen trundling along with Jessica as they seek to make their way as quickly away from the maelstrom of chaos that this night has been. There's no easy thing accepting death. There's no easy thing in forcing oneself to live past their own use. But just because it's not easy doesn't mean that it shouldn't be done. And just because it shouldn't be done doesn't mean that the players go along with it. No, the characters dive into that truth at that moment. Seeing all of the many potential varieties of chaos and monstrousness that lay ahead for a coterie, we draw to a close. And I look forward to seeing you all next time. Good night, everybody.
We're all alive.
Yeah, we managed to make it out. Now, mind you, I violated the masquerade something ferociously. I probably got a few charges against me waiting, but, you know, it is what it is. Now, gentlemen, I'm going to have to disappear because I'm about 1 minute past my deadline, but it was a lovely thing having this session with you guys, and despite the fact that I'm